I was talking to a friend on the phone last night, and she said, oh my God, you're going to South by Southwest? Are you gonna hang out with like rock stars? And I was like, better. Better. I'm gonna hang out with the real badasses, the teachers, for sure. I am gonna talk about daring classrooms and what I believe courage looks like and is. So we're gonna start here. So I am sitting on about 200,000 pieces of data that I've collected over the last 15 years. And one of the questions I've had from the beginning of my career was simply this: is courage the willing to show up and be seen, even when we can't control the outcome? Is courage something that's inherent in us, or is it something that we can teach and develop in people and in ourselves? And so as both a social worker and a teacher, this is my 21st year in the classroom. I'm very quick to call bullshit when someone says you can't teach something. My first question was, oh, you can't really teach empathy, you have it or you don't. You can't teach courage, either have it or you don't. I'm like, let me talk to a group of teachers about that. Because to me, it's questionable. So what I've learned in the last couple of years is you can absolutely teach courage. You can develop it in yourself and you can develop it in others. And it basically boils down to 4 skill sets. Vulnerability, clarity of values, trust, and what I call rising skills, the ability to get back up when we fall, when we experience setbacks and failures. It's interesting because I didn't think rising skills or resilience was going to be on this list, but as it turns out, the most courageous men and women I've interviewed over the past 15 years talk about their courage only being possible because they know how to get back up when they inevitably fall. And one of the things that's true is that if you're brave enough often enough, you will fall. It's not a question if you might fall, you will, by definition, if you're brave in your classrooms, in your life, with your partners, with your kids, with the people you care about. If you're brave, you're gonna get hurt. I mean, the brokenhearted are the bravest among us because they had the courage to love, right? And so we have to learn how to get back up. What I'm actually gonna talk to you about today is the number one thing that gets in the way of developing courage and building courageous classrooms. We're gonna start with vulnerability, and then I'm gonna talk to you about shame. And I'm gonna tell you why I've decided to talk about shame today. Because I feel really comfortable with you, and I think you're a fearless group of people, and I don't think we can pretend that this is not getting in the way. I don't think we can say, this is not happening in homes, this is not happening in the environment we live in right now. This is part of the landscape, and it's become worse over the last 6 months. And so I want to talk about it. But let's start with vulnerability, and let's start with the willingness to be vulnerable, the willingness to really show up and let people in. But we hate vulnerability because it opens us up to being hurt. And we think, I don't want to be vulnerable because vulnerability, where's my slideshow? There it is the center of shame and scarcity and fear and anxiety and grief and disappointment. So I am going to armor up and self-protect. I'm not going to let people hurt me, see me, take advantage of me. The problem is that when we armor up like that, not only is vulnerability certainly the center of these experiences, it's also the center of these: love and belonging and joy. No vulnerability, no love, no belonging, no joy. So love, belonging, and joy, absolute vulnerability. But also these things: courage, empathy, trust, innovation, and creativity. No vulnerability, no innovation, no creativity. My favorite call that I get: hey Brene, would you like to speak to our brand new startup in Silicon Valley? It's amazing, and we loved your TED Talk, and we're bringing in thought leaders, and we want to shape our culture. And okay, great, that sounds fun. What do you want me to talk about? Anything but vulnerability and shame. I got nothing. No vulnerability, no creativity, no innovation. Accountability, adaptability to change, hard conversations. I mean, this is an easy question. How many of you think where you work, your school, your district, your grade level, how many of you think where you work would be better if people had a stronger skill set about having real, honest, respectful, hard conversations? Yes or no? Yeah, everybody. We dodge those and they become toxic in our culture. Feedback, problem solving, and ethical decision making all require vulnerability. So vulnerability is the birthplace of everything we want more of in our lives. The problem is that we end up here. Instead of having an open heart, we end up with a closed heart. We end up with a protected heart for a lot of different reasons. Some of them are environmental. Let me tell you this for sure. The greatest casualty of trauma is vulnerability. The worst thing we lose in trauma is vulnerability. And let's be very clear about what constitutes trauma. Racism is trauma. Poverty is trauma. Classism, trauma. Homophobia, heterosexism, trauma. And so the biggest casualty of that is I can't be vulnerable. Well, when vulnerability, the ability to really be who we are, becomes a realm of only the privileged, we have lost our capacity to create a school, a home, and a country that we love.